Hey, fellow astronomers, welcome to, I guess, part 4 of this crazy roof project. Yeah, in this one I want to just talk about the ASCOM driver stuff. This is a really basic, simple example, and I'm probably doing this as much for myself to remember how to do this as anything else. I have played a little bit, played around a little bit with the ASCOM alpaca stuff, but I'm still struggling with it. So hopefully I'll figure it out eventually, but as of right now, this is kind of classic ASCOM driver stuff. So in the last one, we talked about the Arduino and the Arduino code, and in a nutshell, now we want to be able to say, all right, let's write an ASCOM driver for this. So what do we need? Well, first, obviously, you got to install ASCOM. Second, you need to install the ASCOM developer package. So that's the ASCOM developer stuff. Again, this is only if you want to write your own ASCOM drivers, but you install that ASCOM package, and then clearly you need to be developing in something. I use Visual Studio is what I develop in. I quite like the Microsoft Developer Studio. One note, I'm going to open Visual Developer Studio, but you got to run this as administrator. And I'll show you that in a second what happens. But basically the ASCOM stuff wants to be able to write to the registry and all that sort of stuff. And if you don't have admin privileges, it's not going to let you do that. So when you run Visual Studio, run it as administrator. So we're going to create a new project, and essentially what's really cool with the ASCOM, once you install the ASCOM stuff, they've actually give you two nice templates here that I've already opened because I was doing some other drivers, some other ASCOM stuff for my flat boards, which is super cool, yesterday. And now I literally had made this video and I got stumped, and so I stopped it, and now we're going to make it again and hopefully be a little bit better. But the two you care about is the ASCOM device driver and the ASCOM test forms application, and you need both. So first you have to go into the driver. So we'll make the ASCOM driver. So I'm going to click that one and click next and give it a name. We will call this WD roof driver. Okay, and we will put this in C/ my roof control. Put it wherever you want it. So we're going to call it my roof control. But the point is the driver we'll call WD roof driver. Great. That's for WD Astro for you guys. Now, when I say create, this is the important step. So you can see this cool little ASCOM project wizard came up, which is, yeah, they did a really good job of this. So you select your device class. So if you were doing a telescope driver, you'd select a telescope. I actually did a filter wheel about a year ago, and it was really cool because once you select that, it's going to give you all of the ASCOM essentially methods or items that that particular object can do. If you had a filter wheel, you'd be able to set, which filter or, those sorts of things. If you had a camera, you could say, take a picture or how long you want exposure time, yada, yada, yada. With the telescope, you can get the right ascension declination. There's all these cool parameters that they have that you can select from. So in our case, we've got a roof, but we actually have to use the dome, I believe, or I'm pretty sure, because that's the only one that's got like a open and a close. So we're going to click dome here, and now we got to give it a name. And if you notice, the name is going to be ASCOM dot whatever we put dot dome. So we're going to call this WD roof. WD roof, yep. And that is going to be our device name. And it's going to go ahead and create this device for us. And there we go. Sorry for the screen size here. I'm just doing a small window. And it gives you some nice instructions here. But essentially the main one is it says right away, if you're in debug, go ahead and build the solution. So if we build this, it's going to build, and there we go. We succeeded. If you open Developer Studio and you were not as admin, this would not build. So, and it doesn't warn you that. It's just like, okay, what's going on? Why doesn't it work? Yada, yada, yada. And nope, you got to start it in developer or in as administrator. So there we go. We've got our driver. If we actually look at the setup form, you will see the standard little roof control or the little ASCOM thing that you normally see with COM port and stuff like that. And we're going to change that in a minute. But before we do that, Now we're going to actually add the application which we have to add. So I'm going to go up to Solution here. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to say Add, and of course that went off the screen, but I'm clicking New Project. So I'm going to add a new project. And the new project happens to be the device, the driver test form application. So now I'm going to say Next. We're going to give that a name. I'm going to call it WD Roof App. And I'll just throw it in that same directory, that's fine. And we get the same cool little project wizard. Now this is important. Obviously, we have to click the same type of driver class, and most important, we need to give it the same name. If it's not, nothing's going to work. So there we go. We say create, and now we have the app and the driver. Now the next thing that is important is we actually have to make this the actual startup app. And I missed that when I was first doing this a year ago and I struggled with it. So if I right click here and say set as startup project, boom, that's now the startup project. If I go ahead and rebuild this solution, there we go, it built and everything's good. In fact, right now I could actually go into the ASCOM diagnostics. And sorry about all the screen stuff, but if I could actually go in here, choose, go over to my little telescope or whatever I want. We've got a dome here, say choose, and there it is. ASCOM driver for WD Roof. We've already got it. If I look at my properties, it's got our nice little COM port selection box, yada, yada, yada. So we've just built our ASCOM driver. It's there, it's available. It's unfortunately only available on this machine. We've got to build a setup installation. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But first, let's make our thing open and close our dorm. So here is our code. This was, like I say, the setup dialog. We don't care about a COM port. We're not going to use a COM port, but what we are going to use, in fact, I could just delete this stuff, but I'm going to just hide it for right now, delete it later. So I'm just going to turn visible to true, false. Visible to false, COM port, visible to false. I am going to add a little text box, toolbox, window components. Let's add a text box. Because what we don't have a COM port, we're going to have an IP address. So we're going to call this box text box IP for our IP address. And I guess we should probably, we probably should put a little, let's put a little label on it. Where's the label? Little label. And we'll call that label, I don't care about what we call it. All we want to do is add some text. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Whatever. Label is going to be Arduino IP address. So as far as this device driver goes, let's see, construct your device driver here. We're going to just say WD Astro roof driver. And I guess I should put Astronomy for noobs because we are a bunch of noobs. But the point is this is all I need to create. This is all garbage. Like I said, I could delete it, but in fact, I will delete it in a minute here. But for the point of this video, I'll leave it there because there's just a bunch of crap I got to delete. So the point is when the user actually clicks OK, what happens? So when the user clicks OK, what happens? Well, it goes into this little method and it sets the dome.com port class. So the dome is, we're using a dome object, and it sets COM port to basically the combo box, whatever item was selected. Well, we don't want to set it to that. We want to set that COM port to text box IP.text. There we go. So whatever the user enters for text box is going to be stored in the dome.com port thing, and we're going to use that later. This TL enabled, I don't have a clue what that is. I'll probably delete that as well. So point is when the user now clicks OK, it's going to store whatever you enter right here in the variable dome.com port. And that dome dot variables, you can't change those. Those are, if we go dome dot, you can see these are all the ASCOM stuff that it's using for that DOM class. So we've got to kind of stick with it. And that's nice because COM port is just a silly string, so we can store whatever we want. The only other thing we need to do is now when we first start the program, when the program first initializes, it's going to set, you can see right here, what it does is it would have took the combo box and cleared it. It would have then took the combo box and looked at your system and added all the ports, all the serial ports on the system. And then it would have set that combo box to whatever port you had. We don't have any of that, so we don't care about. But when we start, we want to set IP.text to whatever the COM port, DOM.COM port. I think that's what, hold on, before I screw this up, let me just make sure, I'm pretty sure that's what we want to do. Let's see, DOM.COM port, yes. DOM.COM port, yes. I just wasn't sure if this was, because we are in the driver here, so we do use DOM.COM port. So there we go. So right now, if I actually build this solution, rebuild, and we go back to our diagnostics, choose our device driver, we're actually choosing a dome, we're going to choose our cool little WD roof, go to properties, and hey, Arduino address. I can call this whatever, hello world. Now we're going to call it 192.168.115.8 happens to be what we're using today. And if I go back to properties, hey, it saved it. So that's now stored. So great. We now have we've essentially got our installation or our setup for it, or that selection. Now we got to do something, right? So what's really cool about when you create this, again, I'm under the driver, the roof control driver. When I look at this, it's got all kinds of cool little, let's see, common methods right here. So we've got abort slew or altitude or at home. These are all standard ASCOM methods, and we can do anything we want with them. We could send some information to a COM port. We could run an executable. In our case, what do we want to do? How do we want to open the dome? Well, with the Arduinos, if you remember from our last, sorry, I'm just bringing it up on another page here. We actually want to go to, what did I do? Close it? Probably. So we want to go to a specific web page. In fact, we want to go to, pardon my thing here, because I'm on another screen. And why? Oh, there we go. 168.115.8. Sorry, let me bring this over. There you go. So I just went to 192.168.115.8, which happens to be our Arduino, and we can see we had this buttons that we talked about last time. Now we actually want to implement either /1 close, you can see down here in this corner over the close, or /1/open. So we basically want to just call that web page when we hit the close command, or we want to call /1/open. Oh, sorry, it's already trying to close, so it can't open. But we basically just want to call that web page from the ASCOM driver. And this thing is going to go through its whole cycle. So I'm going to just go over here and tell it that it actually thinks it opened. I just am manually switching some limit switches here. Oh, go on. Just unplug it, restart it. All right, so let's go back to our code. So on open, so actually we have close shutter and open shutter. So before I do that, I'll just show you guys how this works. So right here on close shutter, we'll just show a message box that says we're here. So we're going to go, what is it, system.windows, because we don't want to put this as a method, .forms.messagebox.show. Hey guys, we're closing. There we go. And comment this out. And this was what I actually deleted last time, silly me. But dome shutter state, after it's closed, we got to set that to false. Oops. And in the open case, we're going to set the shutter state to true, which is what it was. And hey guys, we're opening. So right now, if we write this ASCOM driver and whatever application it be, for Sequence Generator Pro or Maxim DL or whatever that's talking to this ASCOM driver, when it calls close shutter, we're going to just throw up a message box saying, hey, we're right here, and it's going to set the state to false. All this is doing is setting a flag that this driver looks at and says, okay, we are closed, but we actually aren't doing anything right now. This is just to show you that this is how this works. I'm going to rebuild the solution. There it goes, it built. If we go into SGP, oops, just rebuild this and open up STP. Sequence Generator Pro, here we go. And I'm using a trial version only because my other 3 PCs are actually using all my licensed versions. And we come down here and go to our little thing. We click on this guy. Hey, the default for the driver is COM1, but we really want 192.168.115.8. There we go. And we'll connect to it. We should connect to it. There we go. Connected. All right. So now if we go into our little control panel, I'm using Sequence Generator Pro, obviously, and I'll go into Other, and here we go, Open or Close. So if I click Open, hey guys, we're opening. So there we go. That's our code that we wrote. And shutter is now open. If I click Close, hey guys, we're closing. And there's our close. So we just wrote our whole ASCOM driver that is interfacing from Sequence Generator Pro to open and close. But obviously it's not doing anything right now, so let's just let's just disconnect this. So what we really want to do here is we really want to call a web page, right? And this is, I don't want to get into this detail, but essentially how do we call a web page from Visual Studio? Well, you essentially just do this. Oops. Just copying this from another PC here, or another screen. There we go. So I essentially set in closing, oops, I set just a string, and we call an HTTP request, which actually, if we're going to call that, we either need to, I guess we can do it this way. We can either add the include statement, because this is just a regular system.net command. I'll just add the using statement. So that this is a it's a system.net.http request, so I could just add it right there, or I'll just add it right here under using. We're going to use system.net, and there it is. So basically we just passed a string that was HTTP, and then where? Well, the COM port, whatever COM port you want to use. So there's the whole beauty of the ASCOM thing. We install this for the end user. You can just put COM port right there. So that string, this string is going to be called HTTP:// whatever they entered there, 192.168 blah 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 /1/open, and then we're going to basically call that request to a web page. Likewise for, oops, sorry, this should be closed. I will change that in a second. I'm going to go to open. We're going to open, and sorry, this is actually close. And we no longer want to show the little message box. So when we hit close shutter, it's going to set a string. That's going to be our address. We're going to then, like I say, these are kind of 2 magic lines. That is just something you got to know with code of. This is how we get that request. Ideally here now, what I really want is on the Arduino to actually have something that says, yes, the roof was successfully open, yes, the roof was successfully closed, and then set the ASCOM shutter state. Right now, we're just assuming that this command was successful. So that's kind of the next thing I actually need to do, and it shouldn't be hard. I'm just trying to think of the best way to actually implement it. But yep, that would be good to be able to get that feedback. And the Arduino knows because it's got the switch. So there's something that maybe I can send something on the web page or something like that that says, yep, I am actually closed. But right now it just is assuming that once you send that web command, just like coming over here, once you hit that that close or open button, that it's sending that command. But if I go ahead and build this, and this is perfect. It's not able to build because SGP is open and that driver is all in there. So there we go, build, rebuild. Now it built, and now if I go into, whoops, not system, if I go into Sequence Generator Pro, and we go over, we connect, let's just see, it did not save because we recompile 192.168.115.8. Go, and now we connect to it. And now we go over to our, and this is kind of simple because all there is open and close, but clearly if you've got a filter wheel, if you've got, in my case before I was, just the other day I was using the light panel thing, exact same concept. But if we click open here, I don't know if you heard that, but the relay just opened. So that actually went out to the web page and clicked open, and it would technically be trying to open the roof right now, and in fact if we let it go, it should go into its bump cycle. We should hear the relay going in a minute, of which I could actually short it out in here and say, yep, you really did do it. Yep, there it goes. All right, we're going to say, there you go, you actually are open, and if I click close, because I need to change that. Sorry, I've got the jumpers here, but anyway, that's exactly what it's doing. I've got to switch it over because it thinks it's still open. I got to play with some jumpers here, but that would do it. And call the close, and that's pretty much it. So there's our driver, but we're not done yet. Again, you can have all kinds of things here, fine hone, open. I mean, all we've implemented is the open shutter and the closed shutter methods. Distributing this, you can't just take, unfortunately, can't just take these files and give them out on the web. You now need to essentially create an installer for a user, and that's this Inno. So if you just Google Inno or Inno installer or something like that, this is ASCOM is using their setup thing. You got to download this, setup thing, but it works awesome. And if I go ahead and open Inno, just show you what this little thing looks like. Inno. This is basically just a little script generator that will automatically create all the stuff you need for the setup. And to do that, and again, apologize for the screens because I'm using multiple screens here, so I don't quite show the whole screen. But what I'm going to go down to is under ASCOM in your start menu, there's a driver script generator. That's what you have to run. So I'm going to go click on that, go here, go ASCOM, and I know you're not seeing this, driver script generator, but that brings up this. And this is really slick. So we can go down here, we created a DLL, that's what we're using for our drivers. A short name, we'll call it WD Roof, whatever you want to call it. The type, it was obviously a dome. Again, we got to select that. Version, this is clearly version like 0.0.0.1, but we'll call it 1.0.1. Source folder and main driver, this is important. So this actually has to be our, what did we just call this? We just put this in my roof control. Yes, so we have the app and the driver. This has to be the driver. Remember over here we got the app and the driver. Has to be the driver directory. And the main driver file will be under that. My roof control, my roof driver should be under your bin release. Oh, it's not there. It's not there because we haven't built it. So we need to go into release mode here, build, rebuild solution. There we go. We just built it. Go back to our little thing. There we go. We just built it. So again, we're in C, my roof control, roof driver, bin release, and that's the guy, ASCOM, WD roof, dome, DLL. That's the important one. Finally, you do have to click a README. I think, yeah, they actually put a little README in here. You can change it, make whatever README you want. I'll just select theirs for now. But that's it. I click save. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and build and compile. Dun, dun, dun. Done. And now if I actually go in that directory, sorry, bring it on the screen for you. So we're in C, my roof control. If I go in my driver, WD roof setup right there. That's it. So there's your whole, there's our whole little setup application. You can copy that one file. If I make a new folder here, just to show you how it's clean. Paste. There's our driver. That's our ASCOM driver, fully functional. Right now it's going to, whoops, right now it's going to open and close the roof. But you have to go through this setup process if you run this on any PC besides the PC that you use the development stuff. So that's pretty much it for the ASCOM driver. I mean, clearly there's a lot there. You kind of got to know a little bit of it, you have to know how to use Visual Studio, but it took me a while to get through all of this. I wish ASCOM actually had some nice stuff like this. They've got it, but it's for Visual Studio 2015, and things kind of changed a little bit. And the installer, this Inno stuff is awesome, but that also took me some digging, and it's not that tough once you figure it out. So very good. Clear skies, guys. Take care.